I grew up hella pussy, I'm not gonna lie. I grew up really not fucking with a lot of horror movies and shit like that because I grew up in like one of the most haunted towns in America. The Annabelle doll and all of the demonology artifacts from the Warrens was in my hometown. Every artifact, picture, or object that they took from houses that they were doing exorcisms at, they had inside of this museum inside of their house. But there's a certain road that people wouldn't drive down. People have had stories where their car has stopped working. There was this dude that went to the museum and he tapped on the Annabelle doll glass and fucked with it, and then while he was leaving he literally fucking died. So I never really was into that because like my town was just like crazy about paranormal shit and demonology and stuff like that. This has definitely been said already, but Outlast is the scariest fucking thing on the planet. Like when I was a kid, I couldn't conceptualize anything scarier than Outlast or fucking FNAF. To this day I cannot play Five Nights at Freddy's by myself. Honestly, the second one be going hard. I like when you could put on a mask and become one of them. They think you're twin. It's really funny. Like they'll walk up to you and they'll like stare at you and you have the little shit on, you're breathing that hard. That shit is lit. All the Connecticut horror movies are just dumb lit. Like The Haunting in Connecticut is such a good movie. The Conjuring is a really good, like the whole series. Insidious too, because they have a nuts soundtrack. Resident Evil scared the shit out of me as a kid. Let me flip the narrative on you, Noah. What is your scariest? Because I feel like nobody else has asked you. What scared you when you were a wee little lad?
I don't know why I was so afraid of them. But you know, like the really stupid haunted house, like TLC shows where they go into the house and they're just like, I heard a noise.
The Ghost Hunter shit.
Yeah, Ghost Hunters. Ghost Hunters scared the living fucking shit out of me when I was a kid. I don't know why.
Also, zombies as a kid was the most terrifying thing to me. There's one noise in Call of Duty Zombies that will scare me in my grown age of 20 years old. The fucking scariest thing, like whoever did that scream is like insane. Devour. You're like these occult people. You're like walking around and you're like trying to find little books. There's like a person following you, especially in one of the maps where it's like a lady who's like running through like a house and like trying to scream in your face and shit. I can't do games like that, bro. I have a tiny heart. That shit will literally explode. Some kids are just like built different, bro, because they just like they fuck with like Five Nights at Freddy's. Like I don't fuck with it. Like I'm dead scared of it. Like I fuck with Five Nights at Freddy's on like the lore side. Like I love how Scott Cawthon like went ape with how in depth the story is for it. But you won't catch me playing that like for enjoyment. Like, I would rather watch like a long ass YouTube video explaining the lore about Five Nights at Freddy's than play the game and figure out the lore myself. I honestly didn't go out too much for Halloween. Halloween's never been one of my favorite holidays because it's just like a one day of the year that you, like people get to be like expressing themselves. It's one day of the year that somebody could be like, yo, I'm gonna dress up as something that piques my interests or is like a piece of me or is something that I like, or even I just want to scare people. Like do that every day. Wear a costume every day.
As far as scary situations go, I understand that you recently were bowling with 24 karat gold and he told you that you needed to get mood tattooed on your chest. I can imagine that must have been kind of scary.
We were bowling with Golden. I was like, yo, if you get a strike, I'll get mood tattooed on my fucking shirt. Because he was ass. He was doing terrible. I'll get mood tattooed somewhere on my body right now if you do it. And he was like, link up. Like, you know, what's it called? I broke my promise for sure. I'm not tattooing mood on my body. He was like, I bet. He looks at me, Bulls bodied it, dude. Every pin. No, sorry. Every pin knocked down except for one. And I was like, yes. And then I saw the pin and it was like, and then it just fell over like in a cartoon, bro. It's the most cartoonish shit on the planet. And I was walking around with my hands on my head like, Jesus Christ, man. God wanted some entertainment. He really did that on purpose. There was no gust of wind in there. He didn't even bowl properly to get that. I don't know what happened. The odds weren't in my favor. Scream never really scared me as a kid, man, because I watched Scary Movie, I think, first. So I was like, oh, that's the character from Scary Movie. I was like, ah. I hate people who watch horror movies and they're like, well, that shit wasn't even scary. That shit gets me so mad. I'm like, bro, you were scared a little bit. Don't lie. No, I hated that movie. Dude, I hated it. The death scene, no. The scene where that dude jumped out that fucking rock and it looked so real. Hated all of it. Yeah, I watched that with my girlfriend on our first date. I was hiding in the couch. We were like, let's watch a scary movie. And I was like, oh, I've heard to watch Midsummer. She's like, are you sure you want to watch that? And I was like, sure. Put it on. I started crying. How do you think of that, bro? Ari Aster's a nutcase. I remember the bathtub scene. Stopped it immediately. I was just like, hey, man, this is a little too much for me. I'm not gonna lie. You know what the least scary movies I think were mine? The Final Destination movies. The gore wasn't realistic. The gore was just like cartoon gore. Oh, no.